Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines, coming to you from the West Coast. Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. We are looking at a 7-game Thursday night slate here. This one taking a look at the Celtics hosting the red-hot Memphis Grizzlies, two of the hottest teams in the NBA, really. No Jaylen Brown in this one for the C's, so we'll take a look at some of the best bets in this one. Nate does have his great article as well up on playpicks.com. Some of those best bets and player props in there for you. And make sure to like and subscribe to that page and check out those other couple videos we have for you today, including that player props video that will look to get back above 500 on the week as we're still hovering right around there, looking to make some money with you guys tonight. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to ftpicks.com or dkpicks.com and find those listings in your area, such as what we've got for tonight. Nate, let's jump into it.
Yeah, the Grizzlies opened as 3-point favorites here in Boston. But now they are 1-point underdogs, as we've seen movement in favor of the Celtics. And it is a little confusing. This line and the Warriors line that we put up, the separate episode we have up today, because of all the movement, it's hard to remember who was favored originally and who is the underdogs, as both those games do seem like toss-ups, but we feel pretty confident in one or the other. And looking at the other 6 games on the slate tonight, Bulls +1 at the Hawks. That totals 232, but we'll see if Trae Young is able to suit up. The Heat are -2.5 at Brooklyn. That total's rising a little to 221 because Kevin Durant is expected to return tonight. The Pistons are +8 at Toronto. The Kings are +7 at the Spurs with a 241 total out there. The Warriors +2 now at Mavs. We mentioned that opened at +4 for the Mavericks at home, and we break that down in a separate game video. And then the no count Lakers +2.5 and another matchup with the Clippers. Now Memphis +2 as we speak, Josh. It's 5-point movement as people are trying to back Boston here. I mean, don't get me wrong. They've been very impressive in this now 20-game span. However, they've showed some cracks lately, and they lost a vital piece of what they do with Jaylen Brown spraining his ankle in the last game against Atlanta. I mean, I talk about showing cracks. They gave up 65 points to Atlanta in the first half. Yeah. It's a Hawks team that usually does not perform very well on the road. And then they put the clamps down in the second half, held them to 13 in the third quarter, slowed the pace down to a crawl, 94.5, as Jason Tatum kind of slowly drew double teams and then was able to dissect that terrible Hawks defense for open threes for the entire team. It's not going to be that easy against Memphis by any means. Memphis is elite guarding the three-point line, elite guarding the paint and scoring in the paint. And the interesting thing for me, the biggest question is, can Rob Williams continue to play free safety the way he has against a guy like Steven Adams, who is far from your traditional center? He's more playing point center, right? They play a lot of high-low. Steven Adams distributing from up top. So I don't know if the Celtics are going to have to play Al Horford and Williams a lot more at the 4-5, move Tatum down to the 3, and how that's going to affect their ability to corral John Morant, who's just on an absolute tear right now, averaging 40.5 points per game in his last 4, set a career high in consecutive games now. Memphis continues to get it done on the road against the Eastern Conference. They've won 5 straight now. They've won 6 of their last 8 against the East. Ja averaging 32 in those games on 50% field goal shooting. And they're not shooting threes. I mean, all season, really, it's been attack. The paint, 60 points per game in the paint in those last 4 games, with Ja leading the way, hitting under 10 threes per game. So Boston's great three-point defense lately might not be as much of a factor. Memphis averages the most free throw attempts per game on the road. They're 23-9 against the spread on the road. 10-12 against the spread when they have 2 or 3 days rest. They have a slight advantage here, having not played since Monday, and they're 15-3, Josh, straight up when they have a rest advantage. Yeah. So that's really the key there for me, as I'm just looking at a Memphis money line bet here. Hard to bet a total with either of these teams the way they've fluctuated right now. But I think Memphis just gets the win here. Still one of the best, most consistent teams in the NBA. And I haven't seen the consistency from the Celtics. I'm not willing to back them with maybe their second best player out tonight.
Yeah, I mean, definitely their second best player in Jalen sitting out. I mean, yeah, there's a few things. Just talking about the total for 1 sec. I don't love it nearly as much as I love taking Memphis, just like you said as well. Happy that everybody seems to be, like you said, about a 4.5 point swing on that Grizzlies line there, starting at about -2.5 or so, up to about +2 in a lot of places, like you said. And so I still love them, obviously even more, honestly, now that they have that, they've got the spread in their favor. You can get a little bit of juice on the money line now, just around even, obviously still about a pick 'em game, but talking about the total for just 1 sec, if you do think that the Grizzlies are going to pull this one out, you would feel a little bit better about about them scoring their points tonight. But at the same time, this is a game where without Jalen, they're going to need to probably slow that offense down a bit. They actually score a few more points per game without Jalen, but it's their defense that takes the huge hit as well in terms of being a lot worse when he's out. So that would lead you to think points. If you think Memphis is going to win, that would lead you to think points as well, just because of the fact that there's a huge, contrast in terms of how many points they score a game in their wins and their losses. We're talking about a 17-point swing in their wins. They're dropping 119 a game, and their losses 102. So, if they are going to if this one is going to stay close, and you think Boston's going to hang around, even if they don't pull it out, I would still feel pretty good about, not as many points there, missing their second leading scorer is Boston. And the fact that I do think, there's something to be said for that backcourt the way it is now with Derek White and Marcus Smart, really being able to handle. I'm not saying anybody can handle Ja, but you'd better believe that, that Udoka and company are going to be really zoning in on Ja. Obviously, we saw what he did in his last game. It was like everybody's just bringing, 2-3 guys at Ja, and he's going, I don't care. I'm still going to score 52 points somehow, or 44 points, or what have you. So that scares me. We definitely aren't looking at a Ja under. I mean, in his last performance, he's only played the Celtics once in the last 2 or 3 seasons, at least 2 seasons, and he had 29 points in that game with 9 assists and 8 boards. So, I mean, he's capable of it against this team. That wasn't the same Boston defense either last year. So I'm not quite as, concerned, or at least I'm not putting as much stock in that one Ja matchup. But as far as the over both teams and their matchups, yeah, I mean, Boston does a great job stopping the 3-point shot, right? In their last 10 games or so, they're about 8th best in terms of limit their opponent 3-point percentage. But, and they do a great job as well at home in terms of limiting fast break points, and limiting those transition points, which is everything for Memphis. It's really get it and go for them. And they have, the fastest number 1 offense in terms of transition offense in the league this year, very unsurprisingly, especially with Ja upping his rebounds per game this season. But all this leads me to say, I'm trying to talk about the total like I have any idea, just because, we think Memphis is going to win. So I'm not really diving too far into that, because I think when you look at the spread, you really hit the key numbers here in terms of, Tatum being so bad against Memphis in his last 7, 14.5 points a game. Even though the C's won all those games, which is really interesting, you're still talking about, needing another guy in there, including like Jaylen Brown or somebody to help with those, get those points essentially for Boston tonight. I just don't see that happening. You talk about Robert Williams. Yeah, playing free safety against Steven Adams. I mean, he's played Steven Adams 6 times in his career. He's only averaged about 24 minutes in those games, as he's getting a lot more now, we know. But still, in those games, we're talking about 7 points, 6 boards, and like 3 assists. It's not like he's really able to handle that Steven Adams type of defense where you've just got a giant, probably strongest guy in the NBA, just sitting down there and waiting. I mean, Steven Adams has been averaging 15 boards and 5 assists since the All-Star break. So he's come out and really just put up exactly what they need him to do. They don't need him to score. He's getting a few, putback points here and there. But most importantly, I think he is going to be able to really own the paint tonight against Time Lord, which is another area of the court that you just see Memphis winning the battle tonight against Boston, and feel like, yeah, I'm going to slap their money line for sure, especially with this 1.5 point spread. Might as well just grab that and get at least about plus 105, 110 on your money there.
No, you are spot on with the correlation and the total here, because, yeah, if Boston wins, it's going to be holding Memphis around 100 points. They're not going to win this game in the 120s, you think, unless maybe it goes to overtime or whatever, and we have a back and forth finish, which they did, in one of their recent meetings. But I digress. I mean, Boston, they lost 5 straight without Jalen, and that was on a West Coast road trip. So now you look at their numbers; it's a little skewed because of that. They're 6-10 versus the West in their last 16, but that again, Jalen's out, so they could revert to some of those struggles. And you talk about walling off Ja, trying to double him. He seems to be the most undoubleable person in the NBA. He just somehow Houdini's his way out of everything. And I mean, every team is game planning to try and stop him. You look at Memphis and you're like, what else is so dangerous about this team? And it's not much, but it is just Ja breaking down the defense routinely, he defying gravity and defying any defensive scheme you throw at him. I feel much more confident about his ability to handle those double and triple teams than I do Tatum when suddenly Jaylen Brown's out and he's going to see even more attention. The Hawks weren't able to hone in on him, but I do think Memphis will. And you look at Tatum's numbers without Jaylen, some good numbers against bad teams, but he's been held to 27 or less by 5 really good defenses. That is the Raptors, Bucks, Cavs twice, and Suns without Jaylen Brown. So I think Grizzlies can copy some of that blueprint. Taylor Jenkins, certainly a great coach who can borrow some of those things. And Memphis continue to do what they've done on the road, which is cover, which is win, and chase that one of those top seeds.
Yeah, and I think that's, we've been looking about in terms of the West, we've kind of been looking at it all wrong and saying, can Golden State catch Phoenix to a degree or anything to that effect? It's like, nah, it's really about can Golden State fend off Memphis the rest of this season, who has just become one of the best. We talk about regular season teams. It's still TBD about the playoffs. To be honest, I definitely don't. If I was any of the top contenders in the West, I'm not trying to see Memphis by any means at this point, but at the very least, we know they are an incredible regular season team, especially even without Dylan Brooks in the lineup. They continue to have a really solid 8 to 9 man rotation, even getting Slow-Mo back in there for a bunch. So that is all the time we have for you in this one. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page, and stayingonthelines.com, making sure you're getting all of those best available odds from odds makers as we make sure to give you guys exactly what's available from each of those odds makers, like I said, on thelines.com. So check out those odds checkers there. And until we see you next, happy betting.